I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand. Welcome back, everybody. If you see that I'm in the same clothes, it is because I am filming back to back because the videos are too long to do all together. So I am still at Cedar Crest Inn, enjoying myself 100%. And I want to start now with day 15. Ooh, what an opening. Day 15 started out with the defense calling Susan Clancy the former mother-in-law. Patrick's mother testified in defense of Lindsay. I don't know. And the prosecution, remember, they called Patrick and they called Lindsay's mother. But I think Reddington did a really good cross of that. And then now the defense points with the former mother-in-law are this. Lindsay was loving, nurturing, and devoted to all three children. The mother-in-law said that. Susan just raved on her behalf as a mother, okay? By December, she said the entire family knew she was struggling. Susan also said that Lindsay was begging for help. I want to remind you that this is a nurse. She's a labor and delivery nurse. So she's got some ideas about postpartum. Susan helped direct Lindsay toward a specialized perinatal program. The program reportedly believed Lindsay was over-medicated and did not take her. She went to a specialized perinatal program, and they refused to take her because she was over-medicated. Remember that long list of all these psychology people that said they were trying to help her? And remember that long list of all the medications? Well, psych medications don't always work together, and you have to kind of find that cocktail that works. Well, her cocktails weren't working, and sometimes they were acting against each other. That's opinion. I think that they should have gotten her hospitalized, but she can't get in the hospital if the hospital won't accept her. After that, Lindsay called a suicide hotline twice, but was not referred for higher care because she did not have a suicide plan. People, we've got to do better. The medical system, the healthcare system is broken, especially with mental health. Do better. Let this be an opening. Let this be an eye-opener for you, health system, and help these people because it is a severe state of mind. I want to step in before I talk about the prosecution's points. We're still in Bev's opinion. I don't know if you've heard, but if you go look, you can find this anywhere that there are tons of women outside the courthouse protesting and not violent or anything. They're all wearing pink shirts in support of Lindsay and postpartum depression being a real thing. And this is what I hope shines a light on this. Apparently, nobody got the message with Andrea Yates. What I understand, she's still in a mental health institution, and she has refused when she was up for parole, release. She's refused. She knows her situation. Okay. Now, in that with Susan, my God, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. The prosecution gets up, and it's Buckingham. And I'm telling you, she's mean. I know they put their top prosecutors on this case, but good God, she's mean. I know she has a job to do, and sometimes we don't like the prosecutors and sometimes we don't like the defense, but God almighty, have a heart. She asked Susan if she knew about Lindsay consuming a cannabis gummy before one emergency room visit. At this point, I think Lindsay was just trying to sleep. I think she was just trying. I'd try anything. So the prosecutor asked Susan, get ready. The prosecution, Buckingham, asked Susan, was she Catholic? Susan said yes. Buckingham followed up with, you do know that murder is a mortal sin. The room went crazy. Sidebar. The lawyers went up there. I talked a long time. After that happened, and they all came back and they resumed testimony, the judge stopped the questioning and instructed jurors to disregard it. Now, sidebar for us. This is mistrial territory, okay? This is a big misstep for the prosecution. It shapes, I'm just so verklempt even now. It shapes the mother-in-law, Susan. It shapes Susan's forgiveness as one based on her religion and not from criminal responsibility. God, I'm still shaking. After court, Reddington, I don't know who asked this, but Reddington was asked, why did you not ask for a mistrial right there? Right there, which I'm sure it would have been given. I'm sure it would. And he said, I am not putting Lindsay through this again. I understand that. I really do understand that, because this has been gut-wrenching for that woman. But that's what he said. And I don't know if he went back and talked to Lindsay about it. I don't know, because, of course, we go up to the seal, the Commonwealth seal, when sidebars happen. Wish they just let us watch them. But he said he wouldn't put her through this again. Now, an important part here is when he refused to do the mistrial right then, he negated her ability to use that in an appeal. So mistrials have to be requested at the moment something goes wrong, not after it goes to appellate court. Because if she's found guilty of anything, they'll probably go to appellate court. Back to the testimony. Next was Dr. Donald Conde. He talked about psychiatric care under examination. Again, he reviewed her treatment records, but did not personally examine her. Some important laboratory work involving thyroid or hormonal issues was not ordered. No lab work. It's crazy. Get this. One provider recorded that Lindsay was disassociated and not in touch with reality. This is in some of the reports that this guy reviewed. One record described serious loss of function, difficulty getting out of bed, bathing, and responding normally. One provider had considered bipolar. I mean, based on her symptoms, I think, that's a good guess. I'm not medical. This is Bev's opinion. At least somebody was trying to diagnose something. And then various clinicians did not always have one another's complete records. I think we've talked about that. So let's talk about it again. The system, the treatment system, was fragmented at best for Lindsay. If you go to one doctor, they can request records from another doctor. I've never had that not happen. Their providers didn't ask for records. Lindsay would have easily given them. And some were in the same, not facility, but doctors, agency, like ABC Healthcare, something like that. They were in the same industry and agency, and they had combined records. It's like here we have UNC, University of North Carolina. That is a huge medical here, along with Duke. We have my chart. They can see each other's. When my doctor looks at my records, she can say, I see that you went last month to so-and-so. Why didn't they do that? It just takes opening up another tab. That's all it takes. Another click, and they could have read, but they didn't do it. So now, what helped the prosecution in that was that Conde never interviewed Lindsay. He did not review the complete police investigation. But I want to go back and say that he was looking at her treatment records. Okay. So anyway, didn't look at the police investigation. He relied largely on medical records and an interview with Patrick. Who else would know Lindsay? Who else was there all the time and saw what happened? You got to interview Patrick. Lindsay did not report that commanding voice to her treating providers before the killings. Conde, he suggested that perhaps Lindsay was scared of losing her children, that if she said she was going to harm the children, that DCF would come in and take her children. She's been in the healthcare system. She knows that happens all the time, and she was afraid of that. There was nothing to suggest that, and Lindsay never said it, but I think it's a good thought, something to think about. Okay, prosecution also said she had declined or left certain treatment opportunities. That's McLean Hospital. She left early. She wanted to get to for his birthday party. But I need to tell you, she did not leave AMA against medical advice. She was given a treatment plan, follow up with your doctor the next day, which she went home and she made an appointment for the next day. She did what they said. They gave her everything she needed to go home, and they dismissed her saying that she was okay to go home. It wasn't that she said, I'm going home no matter what. So, in my opinion, I think Bez's opinion again, that Condi was more useful in demonstrating medical system failure than in personally proving what Lindsay believed during the killings. I do believe he was good for the defense. He wasn't blockbuster, but he was good for the defense. Okay, next, Dr. Elizabeth Laposada. Was the suicide attempt genuine? I love this testimony. She is a forensic pathologist, and she reconstructed Lindsay's fall. For the defense, she said, and she had this diagram written up so that you could see what she's saying about the fall out of the window, how she landed, how she got out the window. It was very thorough. Okay. So she presented that. And then she said, Lindsay apparently went head first from the second-story window. The impact produced a catastrophic Jefferson-type fracture. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't know what the Jefferson is. I'm going to look it up, but I don't know what that is. A lot of people said that. I should have looked it up. Her spine was compressed and displaced. The mechanics of it looked more like a head-first free fall than a carefully staged jump. If she was faking it, she probably would have got to the window and jumped out, which would cause her to land completely different. But based on her injuries, remember, a forensic pathologist, based on her injuries and the way she landed or where her body was laying, it was a head first fall. Prosecution cross-examined, and they emphasized the absence of a skull fracture, a brain bleed, or obvious head wound. Dr. Laposada maintained that the spinal injuries were consistent with the head first impact. The Commonwealth used the cross-examination to revisit the exercise bans and how the children lost consciousness. Testimony was very graphic. Lindsay cried. There was so much hostility. Okay, sidebar. According to Laposada, she went out head first. The injuries were so severe, they took the impact of that fall. That is what Laposada said. Laposada. The injury to her spine, her neck, all of that, her spinal cord, took the blunt end of that. There are injuries, head injuries, where the person does not look like they've had a head injury, but scans will show there's catastrophic inside things that's going on. What they said to Laposada, there is no bruising on the top of her head. There was no cuts, no abrasions, no bleeding. Laposada said there was a bruise under her, on her scalp under her head. And she said, how do you know that? And she said, it would have to have been a bruise. And she said, but there wasn't. So Buckingham put out a photo of Lindsay laying on the bed, and they took the photo this way, okay? And her hair, long and straight, was pulled straight back. She's laying on the bed, and all of her hair is pulled straight back, like they were about to put it in a ponytail. She said, you don't see any bruising there. You don't see any bleeding on that white sheet. Laposada said, I can't see anything. Her hair is there. I thought that was good. I really thought that was good. And again, I don't know if there was ever a talk of a bruise, but it makes sense. Okay, the defense was showing a genuine attempt at suicide. Think about that again. She's on medication. She slit her wrist. She slit her neck. Forgot about that. And then she jumped out of a window. I don't know, but I would think you're attempting suicide. I don't know that you could cover that many bases and be faking it. The prosecution used that same witness to remind juries of the deliberate physical actions required to strangle the 3 children. Sidebar: the state's case, they got those exercise bands, pulled them out, showed everybody, and said that they were tied around the children's neck. This is very graphic, I'm sorry. And it was said like you were tying, but not a bow. So that first loop, and then when the prosecution came up with this and said that deliberate physical action required to strangle the 3 children, she walks up to the front, picks up the band, and she just kind of circles it around the head, like, acting like she circled around the head. She didn't even talk about tying it. So, yes, it took some time. It didn't just wrap around. It just undermined her case a little bit. Okay? We have Dr. Paul Zeisel. He is a very important witness for the defense. But I'm going to have to stop there because I've already told you so much. And again, the time on this would be so long that I'm afraid you'd lose interest. And there's just so much more that you need to know. Okay. So until next time, which will be part 3, and I'm still going to be here. Until next time, you may step off the witness stand. I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand.